I even remember when we would play Panema, and Panema being like a worthless piece of shit. The worst score I ever shot was with.
I'm not kidding you, Ben. I think my average drive, if I hit it good, was probably. There's immense value in having a conversation and understanding another person's point of view. I think if you show up to debate, it does nothing. Nobody gets anywhere. And I think it's one of the most idiotic things in all of religion, being irresponsibly hospitable. And this year, like, I didn't realize that this was one of the motivating factors of my life. I don't know. I think that that's one of the underrated pleasures of life, is just being able to affect people in a way that you don't even know is possible. And I think a lot of people spend their time chasing joy, not knowing that it's right there in front of their face by giving it to others. Yeah. I think it's really important to have a relationship with God and not a relationship with a church.
What's up, guys? Not much of an intro today. My guest this week was Jose Luna. It was great chopping up with him. I don't get a lot of time to see Jose. Just so you know, there's about 25 minutes of golf talk in the beginning because we're both like avid golfers, or Jose's the real avid golfer and I'm just a habitual one in that case. And yeah, then we just talked about like his upbringing, and then with some faith, like some commentary on culture and all that stuff. So thanks for sticking around, guys. See you in the next one. Peace.
What's up, guys? This is the Last House on the Left. This is where I chop it up with my friends, kill time, and speak what's on my mind. Now, today's guest, originally, when I first asked about probably almost 2 years ago, when I didn't have a studio, I didn't have mics, I didn't have headphones, I remember this certain person that's sitting right next to me was like, Ben, I don't think I'll ever do that. But today, I had him on. Jose Luna, what's up, bro?
What's going on, dude?
Glad you're here, man.
Me out. Yeah.
Glad you're here. We were talking about when we first came in, just about the church and light of the world, and how I don't really go here anymore, but I still do a podcast out here. So I'm eventually hoping, man, like I can get my own studio space and whatever. But when I start making like better money in a different job, I'm actually going to be leaving FedEx soon, man. It's taking way too much off my body. Mm-hmm. My parents literally sat me down because I'm back at my parents for a couple months before I find the next place to stay, and they sat me down, and I was like, you ever like obviously you haven't lived with your parents in years, obviously, right?
I stayed with them a little bit last year. When I had a lease end early, and then I stayed with them for a couple of months and then got another place. So yeah, no, I lived with them for a little bit last year, just in between.
How was that? Like,
it was actually like, truth be told, it was good. Like, my parents are very good, and I work a lot, so it's like it was kind of a passing ship situation. But
that's the thing with my parents. I don't have that much. I always call me corny or whatever. I always thought arguing and like fighting with parents, like and doing the typical rebellious thing, like, does everyone feel that? Absolutely. And I felt like if I even had a rebellious stage, maybe it was, when I was in my like early 20s or whatever, not when I was 15, 16, 14, whatever.
Yeah. I think the big thing, like,
can you get a little up closer to the mic? Sorry.
Yeah, no. I think the big
voice.
Thing really is like when you start developing your own person and you start growing, you kind of start. I saw my relationship with my parents really change when I realized that like my friends are having kids, and I was like,
"It's a terrible feeling."
Seriously, and I was like, my friends are having kids.
Anyone that I know by chance? Anyone that I know?
No, just like people our age are having kids.
Like Nicole and Vitor, they're like, yeah, we're still gonna have more. I'm like,
right, yeah,
holy cow,
stuff like that. Like, and you think about it, and you're like, man, if I had a kid tomorrow, I would have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah. And like, I think your relationship with your parents really changes when you get that level of maturity where you're like, they did their best. And they were trying, and they were scared kids that had no idea how to raise another human being. Yeah. And then you get to talking to them, and you're like, it really softens up a relationship with your parents when you're like, they're normal people, and we can just have a normal conversation. Yeah, because
it's like your parents are kind of more like your friends now that you like respect more than your other friends to a degree.
No, it's true.
There's some friends that I love, but do I respect them? I don't know.
It's true, and I think like again, that's kind of the fundamental shift that I've actually talked to a lot of people about this, and they've kind of said the same thing where they're like, I realized that like my parents didn't know what they were doing. And so when we now talk, it's a completely different dynamic than it was when you were a kid and you were just like, screw you, Mom. You don't know anything. You're like, it's so different now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought, once again, to reiterate myself, the thought of just like, I'm doing my own thing. My parents are like, I'm like, dude, I went to like a very small Christian school, which now that I think about it, man, like whenever I have kids, like who knows where I'll be whenever that happens. But my parents had me when they were like on the older side. Like my dad had me at 41. He had Abby at 44 or 45, which I was like really surprised. I think my mom's like 5 years younger than my dad. And that whole it's just it's interesting. Because it just sounds, it's the typical things like you realize different things as you grow up or whatever. But even going to a school like, so we went to high school together. For anyone that doesn't know, that's kind of where we met. I feel like we didn't even become, I kind of feel like we became friends like once you went to the other school. Because remember the one time we played Trinity and we got in the tournament and I saw you there. I'm like, Jose's there. So I just made like, I didn't really, like we knew of each other. Like my older sisters knew Lindsay and Abby, like was friends with Isabel for a while. But I don't know. I think it just over time, obviously like we have a lot of friends in similar groups and whatever. So that's kind of how we knew each other. And plus like golf.
Yeah.
So
that was a lot of golf.
Was a blast.
Yeah.
I guess we can get into So getting into golf really quickly, man. So so you have played Montcalm or you haven't yet?
I have not played Montcalm. No.
It's a tough mountain course. So for anyone who doesn't know, I think I brought this up on the last podcast I did, but I did a 3-week or 3-day golf trip, which is like, dude, I told Robert this. It's just tough, like, because you only have like 4 slots for guys. Like, I know sometimes, I don't know with Dayton, or I almost said Dayton Hill. Typical. Ben's a podcaster and still can't. The amount of self-deprecating talk that like happens on the mic,
it's wonderful. I love it.
That's the wondrous or the wonder of having a post-production and editing. So anyways, going back to Montcalm or whatever, it was a pretty wet day. The first time we played, and it's a mountain course, so it was a cart path only, so it was like it was rough, man. I had one of the best drives I hit all day. It was because I have a terrible slice now. When we first started playing golf, man, I was like, how did I even step on a golf course with you, man? Because I just like couldn't hit anything. Now I can hit like the ball at least 200, 230, 40 yards depending upon the club, but I was like, geez, man, like back in the day, I would just duck hook everything. I would chunk the living crap out of it. And even, dude, we would play. This was probably when, like, during the encounter days when you came to some of those or whatnot, where we would go and just like hit Panema like on the way home and whatever. And Panema, man, that course is like, it's always. That course is hard, man. For being like, they had the best deal in golf. Literally, they said it themselves, which is kind of true. Like 9 holes for $9. If you go after 6 p.m. during the summer.
Yeah.
Dude, that course is chewed up, bro. Like
is it?
It's always been like kind of like rough because it's like a family friendly like golf course or whatever. And from I'm trying to think where what's the one in Hudson the course in Hudson that closed down? Is it Green Meadow?
Yeah, Green Meadow.
There's that one, and then there was another one in Amherst. Also, that was like a 9-hole.
Buck Meadow. They
both like I guess closed down, and then everyone fled. Or moved to Panema and Amherst. But Amherst is super hard to get tee times. Last year, like when it gets into the regular season, like kind of nowadays, it's like you're playing a 6-hour round all the time.
Yeah, I played there a couple weeks ago, and it was a long round.
Yeah.
I was like,
you don't do well with long rounds, do you?
No, I don't. And plus, I was swinging the ball real bad. Like I've had a really slow start to the season. My swing's been way off tempo, so I was just angry the whole time. I was like, oh, good grief.
So our friend Rob said you guys played, I don't know if it was just 9. I think you were trying to play 9 holes, but you only were able to play 7. And you were like complaining about like not playing well. Like you couldn't finish 9 holes for some reason.
Yeah,
Where were you, in Portsmouth?
Portsmouth, yeah.
I heard about that. That seemed like it was a fun time.
Yeah.
So what was the course in Portsmouth? Because I haven't really played out there.
So it was Pease. I actually really like Pease.
Is that near the airport?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, so
cool.
it's right by the airport, so planes will like fly overhead while you're playing on the golf course. So it's wicked
sick.
cool. It's the most played course in New Hampshire.
Is it really?
Yeah, so it's wicked busy all the time.
I think
unfortunately.
Jeez.
I would too, but they're far and away the busiest course in New Hampshire. I've played a couple of tournaments there. It's not a tough course. I really think that it's just. It's just.
Is it in good
like you said.
condition?
Yeah, when we played it, it was in great condition.
Yeah.
But it's also the start of the season. Like if you go there like August, it's gonna be in pretty rough shape. So yeah, the last time I played there was fall golf, and I was like, this is a tough scene.
Well, that's the thing. So when we played Montcalm too, like Montcalm's greens, when I played them the first time, because I did a fall trip where we did just Montcalm and Owl's Nest. The other two, obviously, just for the people that know, because I told you this over the phone or over text the other day. We did after Montcalm, we played Owl's Nest and then Lockmere on the way home. Mm-hmm. So Lockmere's greens, man, like were
size of lakes.
Yeah, they're crazy. You know that one up really quickly for Lockmere, quick rabbit trail. You know that uphill par 4, which is kind of long, but
front 9 or back 9?
Front 9, and it's as you're going like the tip top of Lockmere, like you have that hole where you like hit down. Jeez.
I think so.
It has a huge 2-tiered green, bro.
Yeah, I haven't played Lockmere in like 6 years. So
okay.
That's I
wasn't sure. There's someone else I know that like plays Lockmere a lot.
Yeah.
I forget what it was for you. Yeah. So what were we talking about? Something before it. We were talking about Pease. Mm-hmm. Is it Pease Country Club or?
I think it's just Pease Golf Course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it So I heard the whole story I heard from Robert is that like you weren't happy with your score, and then weren't you like you're like, oh, you're like, oh, I'm not swinging well, and then at the end of the 7th hole or whatever, because you guys couldn't finish, right?
Yeah.
You were like 3 under or something.
No, I wasn't 3. I think I was 1 under.
Oh, okay. He said 3 under.
No.
And I'm like, how could he be like, even like you have super high standards, and dude, like I guess we played a little bit of I think, like I said, our like we played pickup before and whatever, but I can't like, dude, I just try to break 100. You're trying to break 75 whenever you play. Well, probably I would say that.
Yeah.
Depending upon the course, right?
Yeah.
But just that competitive nature that I know you have. That's when I saw it. Like when you would hit like a slightly bad shot in golf, and at one time, like you broke it down to me because we were like walking. I forget where we were playing on some course. I'm like, Jose, like, why are you so mad at this shot? And then you're like, well, you broke it down like when you're trying to play for par all the time, or you're really trying to get a birdie look because like I'm trying to think out of the 25 golfers I know right now, like who's actually like a good putter. I know like 2 of them, and like one was my boss who was like a champion at Amherst for a little while ago, and another one was like probably like a 3 handicap. Mm-hmm. So, and you would be among probably some of the top 5 golfers that I know. I know you'd be like, Ben, I'm effing trash or whatever. But it was just interesting the way that you described it for the first time, because I didn't, like I said, I couldn't even swing a driver. I think I've been playing for 4 years now, and you've been playing for probably a decade almost, right?
Like
how old are you?
7, 8 years.
You're 24?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7, 8 years now. Yeah, I don't know. I think the golf thing, like I get more upset actually, like because I've moved away from caring so much about score, and I go out there to like I want to hit the shot that I want to hit.
Shot shaping, right?
Well, not even shot shaping. Like if I hit a good shot and it doesn't feel good, I'm not happy about the shot. Like I like it feeling good, and that's where I really get into trouble, because I'll get upset at good shots, even though even though I know they're good. But yeah, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, cue Jose's swing right now in 3, 2, 1. Send a picture of your swing to me, and we'll put it on just for fun. Yeah, because I even remember when we would play Panema, and Panema being like a worthless piece of shit of a course, man. Like it was like, dude, I saw people, maybe not you, but with Rob, like I've seen people like literally dig into the greens, like the tee boxes are sand, like the 6th hole or whatever, and I was like, holy cow. But it's like tight, and it's short, but it's super tight.
Yeah.
And it was flooded for like 2 weeks when we caught like the 3 inches of rain over
Yeah.
however long it was.
Yeah.
And I saw I follow Amherst Country Club on Instagram, and their Instagram account was like had a cart girl that like put like a couple drinks on like a mini surfboard, and they like filmed it, and I was like, holy cow, like wrong sport.
No, that's funny. That's super funny. Yeah.
So when did you get into golf? So probably, was it before high school or no?
So my story of getting into golf is actually it's a pretty cool story. So I historically hated golf, like all through
I do remember
all
you saying
growing up,
this,
all
yeah.
through high school. I was like, it's stupid. I don't want to do that. Like that looks really stupid. I couldn't really afford to do it anyway, even
Who
if I
could?
wanted to.
I can
Yeah.
barely now.
Yeah, but senior year of high school, I got a job at a golf course. And I was literally their janitor. Like that's what I did.
This is Stonebridge, right?
Stonebridge, yeah. And
That's a serious course to me, man. When I always hear people like, you want to play Stonebridge? Like Winans did that a couple times. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No,
just
you're
my
good.
ADHD mind. The worst score I ever shot was with you.
At Stonebridge.
I remember it was me, you, Winans, and Robert.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, oh, let's do 2v2. And then we got on the first tee box, and you're like, I don't know what happened, but somehow like the vibe changed. I get it to a certain degree. Like most people, like always, the golfers I know, they're like, let's do one. And then whenever we do it, they're like, hell no. Unless they're like, they want to be like inebriated while they're
Yeah.
golfing. And so I'm like, I remember at the time I was a little mad. I was like, Jose, I'm swinging terribly and whatever. And it was my highest score ever on 18. Just guess. It's okay. I won't be offended.
136.
39.
139. Dang.
And you know what? That was where the par 3 over the water.
Yeah.
That was the one time where I'm like, oh, I don't even care anymore. I don't even know which hole that is in regards to the
It's
number.
hole 6.
It's like one of the hardest holes on the course, right?
The par 3 over the water.
Yeah.
It's the signature hole. Yeah.
That was the one hole that I actually parred, I remember. And
Yeah.
back then, pars were like eagles to me.
Yeah.
Now, thank God, I can finally get several, or not several, but I can get like 3, 4, 5 pars around at least now.
Yeah.
But I'm a bogey golf guy.
Yeah.
So anyways,
all you
interrupted
can
your
ask for.
story.
No, you're good.
Stonebridge.
You're good. So I got a job there working as their janitor, so I would like literally clean shit. Like that was what I did. And so one of the golf pros one day, they were out on the practice green, and he's like, hey, do you want to try hitting a couple of shots? Like there was just like a lost and found putter. And so I took the putter and we were just playing around. That was it. I didn't really think much of it. The next day I come in, he's on the range. He's like, hey, do you want to try actually hitting a golf ball? And I was like, all right, cool. I'll try hitting a golf ball. And we kind of got into the habit of it where every day after work, he would be like, hey, let's go hit some golf balls. And so he'd give me a club he's like, this club's been here for 2 years. Take this one. Take this one. I go and I eventually went and bought a $150 set of Top Flights from Dick's Sporting Goods.
Nice,
My
dude.
first bag. And I played golf probably 6 hours a day.
Wow.
For 2 years. And I would literally like it because we would have tournaments and everything, and I would go out and I would play like in between play. So I'd be like, okay, there's a gap on 10. I'm going to go play 10. And I would play 4 balls at a time, and I would play the worst ball. So you play 4 balls and you go, it's like a scramble with yourself, and you play the worst shot. And I would keep doing that. And then after I was done there, I would hit golf balls until I couldn't see on the range. I just got obsessed with it. I wanted to know how to do everything. I wanted to be good at everything. And the guys who taught me how to play were all professional golfers. So it wound up working out well. And then, I got obsessed with it. And that's that. So I worked at a golf course for years and wound up playing. And then after I worked at a golf course, I got a membership and just kept playing.
You don't have a membership now, though, right?
No, I had one. I've had one ever since Stonebridge. I actually didn't get one this year because I play around enough that I was like, it's kind of a waste of money for me to spend $2-3 grand on a golf membership to play other courses. Like it doesn't make any sense.
I heard Dairyfield has a pretty cheap one where it's like around 900 or so.
Yeah,
that's what I heard a couple of years ago as well. But I couldn't get it. I tried to get onto Dairyfield, me and Shane, several times last year, and I just couldn't. It was so overly booked, but I was able to get on there like beginning of this year, no problem.
Yeah.
So
I go there and I play there every now and again, just because it's so close to my house. But I was a member there for 3 years. I'm not a huge fan of it.
I love that first hole though. I just love wide fairways.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of golfers do, but
Yeah. No, I like a little bit more variance. Like Derry Field's just very much up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the. It feels like you played this.
Oh, you're talking about
hole.
Derryfield. Okay, I thought you were saying Stone. I was talking about Stonebridge. Sorry.
Oh, Stonebridge. Yeah,
but
I
Derryfield
love,
is up and down.
Yeah. Stonebridge is one of my favorite courses in the state. I really love playing that course. So.
Yeah, that's cool, man. What did out of you probably how many courses you think you probably played in your life?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah. You think it's in the hundreds?
No way. Yeah, no.
Didn't you play out of state?
I've played out of state
thinking of?
a few times.
I'm thinking of my other friend Sean, who's played a lot out of state. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I haven't traveled the country too much. I played a college tournament in Pennsylvania one time. That's the furthest I've ever traveled.
How did that go?
Horrible.
Because of the pressure, right?
No, actually, yes and no. So I was probably before that college golf season, I was probably playing the best golf of my life. I was firing low rounds pretty consistently, and so no.
Do you still have that sexy 2 hybrid?
The 2 hybrid. Yeah, I do.
Dude,
that's never coming out of my bag.
Dude, I now have a 2 hybrid for Rogue ST. That's all. I have high forgiveness clubs, and then I have I have the CB Callaway wedges, which are pretty forgiving. So
yeah,
they've done me a solid.
Yeah. No, I will never get rid of that 2 hybrid.
That thing's sick. I remember just from Londonderry because I couldn't hit anything at the time when this was, like I said, a year into golf playing at Londonderry.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I had one time where you're like, Ben, just try this. I'm like, I was afraid. I'm like, Jose, I don't want to break your clubs. He's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then I just nuked it. And then and I'm really, really starting to slow down my swing now.
Yeah.
And now I'm just doing all the stuff where changing grip and then a lot of golf talk, guys. I'm sorry, but this is the one guy to do it with. It just tucking your arm in, because when I swing, I just I just do that at the top.
Yeah, and this is something that I was working on with Robert too. The feeling really is when you get to the top of your backswing, the feeling is you have to let your hands just fall and then you come across.
What's that called? Dropping in the slot?
Yeah, dropping in the slot, but the feeling is always it's almost like a 2-part feeling. I feel like my arms go back and then they drop and then they just spin. That's how it feels every time. So it's almost like you're doing an L.
Yeah, dude. And dude, your ball flight is sick. It just Robert's ball flight. I don't want to be sacrilegious here. I feel like his ball flight's similar to you, where it just goes. Shh.
No, yeah,
and then it just drops.
Well, that's actually so theoretically that's not the best thing in the world. I hit a very spinny shot. Yeah. So 2020 was the year that I said, you know what, I want to reduce the amount of spin that I have on my driver, and my average drive.
How do you even do that?
So it's about not hitting down on the ball. It's about hitting more up on the ball. So I played a 7-degree driver.
7 degrees?
Yeah.
I thought it was 9.5 or 10.
Yeah. So I had it all the way down to 7, and I'm not kidding you, Ben. I think my average drive, if I hit it good, was probably 315, 320.
Holy cow.
I was hitting the ball.
You carrying it 300?
I wasn't carrying it 300. I was carrying it probably 270, but it had no spin on it. So it was just a low penetrating ball flight, and it would just run forever.
Keeps going on. Wow.
So I stopped doing that, though, because it was when it was consistent, we were driving greens. But when it wasn't, it was just so far off that I was like, I'd rather have a spinnier ball flight that goes 275, that I know where it's going, than try to hit a bomb and have it be like a coin flip of whether it's going to be in play.
That's the whole YouTube creator thing, because I used to everyone. I think me and you watched Good for a long time.
Yeah.
And then now they're honestly they're super corporate, and it's like let's do an 8v8 on a course. I'm like, damn, bro.
Yeah.
And then you got Grant doing his own thing, and the Bryan brothers and all that stuff. But that stuff was super cool. That did help me get more into golf, and they definitely made it more approachable. But,
yeah.
What are you even hitting for a driver? Are you still using a Stealth?
So my Stealth 2, I actually had a buddy of mine snap the driver shaft of the Stealth 2. So I still have to go pick up another driver shaft.
Damn, so really?
I'm borrowing my buddy's Cobra right now, and it's swinging good. I'm used to it, but I need an extra stiff shaft again because this one's just stiff. So I'm once I get back into that, it'll be a lot more consistent. Yeah.
So what are your top 5 favorite courses that you've played then?
Owl's Nest is up there.
Absolutely.
I'm just gonna say New Hampshire courses that I really like.
Yeah.
Owl's Nest, Stonebridge, Canterbury Woods. I really like Canterbury Woods.
Big fairways.
I also really like Overlook. I love that course. Yeah.
Okay, so we named 3. We said Canterbury, Owl's Nest, Stonebridge.
Overlook.
Overlook, yes.
And then in New Hampshire, I'm going to put Sky Meadow up there too. Sky Meadow is...
I never played, but...
It's a hard course. It's all target golf. So it's like you can't... Like, it's not conducive to my style of play. It's just a very pretty course. So I like it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, switching gears up a bit. So that whole, I would consider you like at least when, definitely based on probably a couple years ago, like you were definitely like obsessed with golf for a good amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that like obsessive like personality that like or that I should say more obsessive mindset. Like I feel like that. How do you think that carries over into your regular life? Like I would look at when. Like I said, we first started like more hanging out more often. Like I said, this was way after like high school and whatever. Where like I'm trying to think the first thing. I don't know if you were when we first were hanging out. If you were working for New York Life for insurance.
Yeah, I was.
And then weren't you also working on like cars a ton too?
Yeah.
Like this is probably a long time ago. But I would always put you up as like a super like hard worker and what even the FitLab days too. We'll get to FitLab in a minute. But yeah, speak to that.
Yeah, so I think having the obsessive personality is like a good and a bad thing. Like I've got I was spending time with him last night. I've got a really good buddy he's a very similar person, and it's like people consider hard work to be like something like it's kind of like working out. Like I see all these posts on Instagram like, oh yeah, I work hard. Grind culture, exactly. And I really hate it. I desperately hate it. I think it's the stupidest thing in the world because like if you really like working out, it's not hard work to go work out.
That's what Shane says. Yeah.
It's really not difficult. And I think the same thing about work. I just love working. It's not, I don't consider it hard. Like there are days that are hard, don't get me wrong, but it's something I want to do. You know, like I'm passionate about what I do. And so I just kind of get lost in the sauce. So it's like, I'm not going to sit up here and say like, oh yeah, well I outwork. No, I don't care. Like it's what I do. And
you're not going to be the Dominican Andrew Tate, bro.
No, I really like, I don't think there's like, I think that there's some morality, but I don't think there's very much virtue in overworking yourself.
Yeah.
Because like, this is what I was talking to my buddy about last night. He's, this kid is a savage. Like I say that I'm going to leave his name out of it and all this other stuff, but he is one of the hardest workers I've ever met in my life. I worked for his dad and he would working on a farm.
When did you work on a farm?
Right after college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he and I worked together and he'd outwork me. He'd throw more bales of hay. He'd throw more grain. And he's a savage. And I would he's taken like 2 days off in the last 2 years. Like literally, because he's been building 3 houses. And like he talks to me about this and he's like, you know, I feel like I've done nothing with my life. Which is so crazy to hear from someone like that.
3 houses though.
3 houses.
And he's your age, right?
Yeah, he's 23. And damn, it's like,
holy cow.
But you think about it and he's like, the things that he now values, it's not money, it's not work. Like when you work that much, and this is real life, like you get to the point where you feel like you've wasted your time. It happens where you're like, the money isn't really worth it anymore. I'd rather just, you know, have time to build relationships with people and positively impact the world.
I was going to say, is it too much of a jump to immediately be like, oh, just because I'm busting my ass, like it means I have no friends? Like, is that, because it feels like from what you're saying, it's not just, it obviously, yes, like the simple fact of it's not just money and it's not, I just like where, yeah, because to get, it's like the whole balance thing in your life, but there are some things that just take priorities over others. Like if you want to move up in your company, and you know, I'm talking out of my ass here because, you know, I'm about to leave FedEx and whatever, and I still want to know what I want to do. Mm-hmm. But at the time for FedEx as well, man, it's like I'm doing these 12-hour days and I get salary, And but then I'm trying to take days off for like my friend's wedding coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and I took it off like a couple months ago, and because of like we're down people, and he's like, well, hey Ben, like hopefully you can get this, hopefully you don't have to work this day. I'm like, dude, you already approved it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, my time, like I also once again, it seems like this number is a lot for me. Like I worked a 72-hour week in the during peak for FedEx, and I had one day off. I didn't work Sunday, but I think I had two runs of like 12, 13 days in a row. But I'm like, dude, I can't even do this. I'm not myself. I'm just existing. I'm just like a slave to whatever. And FedEx has really effed up my back. At the end of when I left Blue Sky, because after I was doing power washing, I went over to FedEx. One reason why is that I would just kind of run myself dead at the end of the year with power washing, because I would. At the end of the year, there's not as much like stuff to do because it gets cold out. Like the water, you can't have ice in the power washing machines. So we do a ton of gutter cleaning. But my coworker, who I shout out to him, like I love that guy. I still keep in touch. He was one of the the scratch golfer I was talking about. But he was like mid 50s, and he didn't want to carry the ladder, and for like efficiency or whatever, I'm like, all right, I'll just do it. So I know how to carry the 25 footers, the 40-foot aluminum ladders. I can actually carry one by myself because I learned how to do it the right way. You grab it from the wrong, and I just learned how to balance it out. But it ended up like just really messing with my body. And then I thought when I went over to FedEx it'd be a little bit better, because FedEx is better run than Amazon, but then it's like they're the only company now out of like Amazon and UPS now like dropped the percentage of how much of like packages that weigh 75 pounds. They only deliver stuff under 75. We deliver stuff under 150. I delivered not a fireplace, like a fire something grill, and I didn't have a dolly, and I was like, holy hell, man. Like my back was like screaming. And then this is where I'm like, I'm putting in all this work and my benefits are terrible. And I thought Kamal was going to take it all away, but
no, I've started like,
that's my sob story.
no. I've started realizing like what it is that kind of makes me tick, and you're right. Like a 72-hour week is a long week.
I'm sure you've done just as much. Your Fit Lab days, man.
Yeah, Fit Lab days were, I don't know, like, so this for me, like,
I could be wrong. I'm just throwing it out there. It seemed from third perspective from me.
Yeah, like especially like there were periods of time where I think my average day was like a 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. day. Like it's yeah, like it wasn't for like a very long time, but like a couple weeks at a time.
18 hours? Am I an idiot?
No,
5 to
noon. Yeah, 18. Yeah. But it's like, and like I slept in the gym a couple of times. Like it was just.
I did hear about that from somebody. I was like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's just,
Are you kidding? Where would you sleep?
In like the utility closet. Like in one of the gyms, there was like this hallway. And so I brought up a bunch of yoga mats and I was like, I'm not going home. So I'm just going to sleep here because I got to be here for 5 a.m. So we're going to just make it happen.
And was that a little bit, forgive me if I'm reaching on this, but was that a little bit like self-induced, or was it just being the head man? You were the head manager of the Nashua branch, right? And then you went over to Manchester.
Yeah, and then I've written the last few months I was the regional, so I would I'd do all of them.
That too.
Yeah, I really think it was. I have a very, I'm gonna call it a selfish outlook on work. Like my biggest goal when I go into any profession or any field is I'm like, I want people to look at the work I've done and go, wow, like people like be like, whoa, you really did something here. And like that for me is like having the ability to give people a memorable experience is everything to me. And like I think that that's such a huge part of why I do what I do, because I'm like, you know what, if I put in these few 18-hour days, like we got a new load of equipment in, and that's why I was doing that. So I had just taken over the gym. I had to let everybody go, so it was just me. So I was like the cleaner, the opener, the closer, everything. And I was just in the process of hiring people, so it was just kind of what I had to do. And
you're fired.
Yeah, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to clean the entire gym. I'm going to reorganize every piece of equipment. We're getting all new equipment in here. And so it was a ton of work, and it was just me.
Where does this come from, though? Is it just naturally built into you? Like,
Kinda. I've always been, I've kind of always been like this. Yeah. I don't really know
damn,
what it
I'm
is.
not wired like that.
Nah,
I'll say it to the camera.
No.
Ugh.
Do you want to know the day that kind of turned my life around?
Tell me.
It was, so I've always been like a hard worker, I would say.
Yeah.
Just because I enjoy doing it. Like I get very like one track minded, like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'll forget to eat. Like nothing will distract me. And
I could say the same.
No, but there was one day that so my buddy who just finished building up his third house, his dad is a very, very, very successful person, very successful. But he owns a lot of farmland. And there was one day that we got a shipment in from Canada of hay because we ran out of hay from the farm. So we had to ship in a truckload of hay from Canada, 75-pound bales. So normal bales of hay are 40. These are almost double. So some of them were wet too. So some of them were probably 100 pounds. And I remember that day I was like, oh, it was a semi truck of this hay, probably 12 feet high. So we had to unload the whole thing.
Yeah. So when my dad worked on a farm, we would talk about that stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
So no, it's all good. So we had to stack it all up on pallets, and it was so much work. And I was like, ugh, I don't want to do this today. And this guy hit my friend's dad, who does not have to work another day in his life, through probably double the amount of bales of hay that I did. And I was like, this guy has no reason to do this. It's just who he is. And I'm like, I'm sitting here complaining when I need this paycheck to eat. Yeah. I'm like, there's something in some people that it's just like, I think it can be learned, and I think it can be found, but I think once you find like what makes you tick, it gets really easy to work on it. Like, yeah. I really do, but that's just my 2 cents on it.
One thing I wanted to bring up, thank you for mentioning that. This is where like I picture me and you, Jose, and you're gonna you're gonna laugh your ass off when you see this.
Okay.
But whenever I see Ashton Hall, I see you. So this is you on the left, and this is me, dude. When I saw this video, I started following Ashton Hall a little while ago. So I'm like, oh, I don't know. I felt like just from the top, like I knew it was over the top since like. He had like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 million. Yeah. He's jumped up to like 6 million in the last like couple months because like, he just went viral or whatever. But even that guy, like I think he does this all to be like over the top. Yeah. To be almost like make fun of grind culture. Yeah. Because even if you look at the comments, like Ashton's not even running and holy shit, DJ Khaled. All I do is walk. He's like walking, bro. He looks like he got a stick up Main Street, bro. Sorry, man. I just had to show that, not to ruin funny. ruin the moment. But that's kind of I've noticed it from afar, man. And that's one thing I wanted to bring you on to talk about because I'm like sometimes even for me, I definitely need more of a kick in the butt to go do stuff. But then, like you just mentioned earlier, like grind culture is definitely like a thing. And, you see it a ton online and all this stuff.
I really think it exists solely to make people feel like.
Yeah.
I really
it's working.
What? It's literally a joke. Like there's people that I see post and I'm like, you're regular. You're a normal person. Just be a normal person. Like why go on social media to like make yourself seem more than other people? Like it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't want to be like the guy who has like a podcast and be like, let's talk about society and how social. Like, I'm just not that dude. But there, to a certain degree, there is a point where it's like, even like Andrew Tate stuff where I see him doing his thing. It's like you're playing a character. We don't even know who you really are. But he also just I think says stuff to just be contrarian because that's just it's everything. It's either like 0 or 100 with everything. So
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think one other thing, and this is something that I think absolutely everybody should implore because it has literally changed my life. So I've always done it on a little scale, but I've tried to dial it way up since then. So we had a company meeting at the current place where I work. I work for a roofing company. I work in sales. And
how'd you get in there, by the way? You've been there
company?
for several months now, right? Or longer?
Yeah, coming up on a year now.
Oh, cool.
One of the guys in the office, I knew him, and he was so he offered me a position,
cool.
and it worked out. But we watched a TED Talk on being irresponsibly hospitable. And this year, like, I didn't realize that this was one of the motivating factors of my life, but being able to affect people's lives in ways that, like, you can only imagine is huge. So I'll give you an example. This woman, I went into her house. She needed a roof. Roof was leaking. Her husband had died of Alzheimer's a year before. Her kids were clearly not really in the picture that much. She was all alone living in a mobile home. And I saw on her wall a cribbage board. Okay. And she was like, I used to love playing cribbage, and now, like, when my grandchildren come around, they'll play with me. And, she just mentioned it offhand. And so whatever, she didn't wind up buying from me. It was a financial thing. No issue. A week after, I sent her a cribbage game, and it's like Cribbage Wars. It's not like normal cribbage. And she sent me a message over text, and she said, "That was one of the kindest things anyone's ever done for me." She goes, "You are just a stranger who I called out. Like, I sincerely want you to know that how much that meant to me." And I said, "That's crazy," because that makes me feel so, like, just any little thing that, like, because that's what gets me, like, I'm like, I want to do that for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's a weird energy that goes into the world when you start doing things like that. Like, when you're irresponsibly hospitable to people. That you don't need anything back. You don't want anything back. If you can get to that point, it makes life so much more
Dude, I might have to steal that phrase, because what's almost similar to what you said, but not quite. So, like, think of the phrase that we use, people pleaser. That's not what you're not talking about, being a people pleaser.
No.
You're like, I was almost going to say, you're like pleasuring people, which sounds,
yeah.
Yeah, there I go to ruin that beautiful segue. But that's so true, where I'm also, like, I'm an empath, man, so I feel things. So if people are, like, going through it or whatever, or even when it comes to stuff like someone struggling, like, mental health wise, I would give my right arm so someone wouldn't have to go through it. And I think that's one reason why, with my faith too, even regardless of whatever season of life I would be in, I would always be willing to drop whatever I could just to do that. And look, you're obviously doing it in, like, even, like, the more business side of things, which is even doper. Doper's probably not even a word. But
I think everybody should do it in business. I think you should do it at FedEx. I've started to fully buy into this, because it is selfish. I do it because I enjoy the feeling I get from changing like, not even changing their lives, changing their week, changing their day.
yeah.
That's the only reason I do it. I don't do it for the money. I don't do it for any of that. It's just like, so I'll give you another example. This young couple just bought a house. They hired another contractor. They didn't even hire us. They just bought a house, and she mentioned something. I was talking about, like, we'll do the cleanup process so that there aren't nails around, and they're like, well, we just bought a lawnmower because it's their first house. They moved out of an apartment, and she was like, well, she was a little quirky, and she's like, well, you know what? If you'll let me plant wildflowers, then we won't have to mow. And so I'm like, I'm actually stopping at the store after I leave here today, because they're moving in next week. And I'm like, I'm going to send them a note. They already hired someone else. I'm like, I'm going to send them a note with a package of wildflower seeds. And it's going to say, hey, congratulations on your new home.
Man.
Here's hoping you don't have to use the lawnmower. And that I know I'm not going to get a response from them. I know it's not going to mean anything, but, like, I'm just going to sit here enjoying the thought that, like, oh, they're going to smile so wide when they get this letter. I don't know. I think that that's one of the underrated pleasures of life, is just being able to affect people in a way that you don't even know is possible.
Yeah, because is it the whole thought of, like, it sounds so cliche, but, like, giving people something is better than getting.
I'm 100%.
Like blessing
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like it like you said, it sounds cliche and it sounds stupid, but I don't know. I think like it goes back to like
There
what
is a
God
euphoric
does.
like
Yeah.
chemical thing I feel like that happens in your brain when you do that though.
Yeah, like I really do think that like when you do that, like God will send something more your way. Like
Yeah.
you do it for the joy in the now and then you get repaid later. I think there's zero downside to it, and I think a lot of people spend their time chasing joy not knowing that it's right there in front of their face by giving it to others.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I really do.
And that's a verse that like I've talked about this a lot on and off air, but that old scripture where it says the joy of the Lord is your strength. It's like it sounds like very like like a lyric from like 2000s Hillsong, but the reason why, and I always, that's one thing me and David really connected on, and I was working on my first ever sermon, probably the last one I'll ever do, when I first met him at Bonhoeffer's, and that's where my faith became. We'll get to faith in a minute, because I'm really interested on your story, the way you came up in the faith and whatnot, but how like I guess that word joy is something where it's like it's beyond like circumstances and whatever. And what am I trying to get to, Ben? Yes. So you talk about enjoying like helping out other people and blessing other people. It's like I feel like if you are a Christian that's really experienced the love of God, it would be the most selfish thing you could ever do is to keep it here. And even that's why when I originally started doing Encounter and I was praying for people and starting up Bible studies, and half the time I do Bible studies, people are probably like, this is like too personal and emotional and all this stuff. But that is, I'm an emotional guy, obviously, but that is how, like, that deposit that I've experienced from I remember when I first like really, probably my senior year at Berea, when I first like really encountered the Holy Spirit, that changed my whole walk with God. Even like, I would say even nowadays, like, not that I'm in a bad mental space, but it's just, body's hurting, like uncertainties with my job or whatever. But I always, they were saying in the service today, like that thought of like, earth is here and like heaven is here. Like heaven is like track 2. There's track 1 and track 2 that are running at the same time. And it's like, nowadays I feel like I'm more super focused on like me and what I'm doing and like what's my next move, or I'm just being, if I'm trying to nurse myself just to get to the next day or the next week or whatever, sometimes physically, it's like, it's really hard. It wasn't hard for me to like get out of my own head a couple years ago, but now it's like I'm a little bit of a selfish brat sometimes. So I think that was so cool you mentioned that. I didn't even think we were gonna you were gonna mention that. But
here's the other thing though, Ben. Like I was talking to one of the gentlemen that works with me at Valliancourt.
You work at Valliancourt?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize it was Valliancourt.
Yeah. Extremely successful guy. Okay, and he was telling me
because their owner has like a crazy story too. Like he was a drug addict, right, and turned his life around, and now he hires a ton of people from similar. Anyways,
no, he's a fantastic guy, and I was talking to one of the other reps, and really successful guy, and he's like, don't ever do things for the money, I really think that's like. And you're talking about your situation there, like I'm a huge believer in the fact that like you're always on an interview, like no matter where you're at, you're always at a job interview. Like there's opportunities everywhere that you don't even see. People just aren't going to notice you unless you're being excellent. And like Ben, in all honesty, like if I was working at FedEx, like what would probably make you feel really good right up until the last day, if you brought like a broom with you. Swept off their steps, left their box there, and left. It would make you feel like, okay, today someone's gonna see that on the Ring camera and go, wow, like this person's different. Like that's such an addictive mindset to get into. Like the thought that someone's gonna say, wow, yeah, I would love it.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to FedEx, like I do my job and I do it pretty well. I don't always go out of the way for people. Like
Yeah.
when I was working at Blue Sky, man, honestly, I've been at FedEx for 2 years now, so the timelines are adding up now. I went out of my way a lot for Blue Sky, where it's like maybe I'm just getting hardened by the world or whatever. But yeah, man, you're preaching to me right now. So
No, I
you're
don't mean
preaching,
I don't
but
mean
you're
to be
just sharing
preaching.
your life.
Yeah. I've started being so like I was talking to my roommate about this morning. Like I've started to be all in on this. Like I really think that everybody should do it because like it's the same thing like with being in a relationship. If you're only worried about your happiness, you're going to have a very unsuccessful relationship. But if two people are worried about the other, like how can I make this other person's day better, and you have two people doing that, it's a happy relationship.
So there's actually scripture where it says they will know that you love each other. That they will know. Oh, son of a gun! Give me a minute. They will know you by your love. Like the world will know that you're a Christian by the way you love each other, and that spiritual camaraderie, for lack of a better term. Yeah. Shout out to you, by the way. I haven't met your girlfriend yet, but I.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you've been dating for a couple months now, right?
Yeah, 6 or 7 months now.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, what a cool thought. So, and I always tie that to. I know it's not even. Probably maybe just the pureness of your heart, man. But I always look at what you're saying as like a spiritual thing. That's where I'm like, I'm not looking at like faith, or my faith needs to be affecting like all aspects of my life. I feel like sometimes, just from me and some people I know, it's like we let faith affect certain parts of our lives, but not every single one. Like not where sometimes for me at least, where it's like, when it requires like the extra. I feel like I've definitely understood and received that part of the gospel where it's very much like it is good news, and the good news is like go and do the same, like go make disciples. But I think just part of the Christian walk too is like also being aware of your ability to become complacent or stagnant. So
yeah,
and I haven't always done that, but
yeah,
a little bit of a wake up call for me in that certain way, because I'm just, with me like kind of being like church homeless the last like year or two, where I go to other churches, but I'm trying to figure out, like I would like to graduate from Light of the World and go somewhere else, but there's just a lot of I also probably there is some spiritual healing that definitely needs to happen in my life, but not that I was ever damaged or whatever, but just that it was hard for me to sometimes, like, this sounds weird, but I feel like spirituality is like more of an emotional thing than I realized. Not that you have to be like just lifting your hands in a worship service or when someone prays over you, but it's like actually giving my emotions to God, or at least presenting them to God,
Yeah, I think that's huge, is like being able to be honest with God, and say like, hey, listen, I'm struggling, I'm screwing up, and I think that's one of the things that I've always struggled with, is like, I don't ever want to feel like I'm being a hypocrite,
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
but struggling is a reality of a Christian walk, and
exactly, dude.
And I've started.
And why don't more people say that? It's like it's not bad to struggle.
Yeah.
It's just at least admit it. Like I'm just so tired of the Christian fake like smile bull.
I've like
I hate it.
I'm very.
And I've been part of it.
Yeah, I'm very careful with how I speak on this though, because again, I feel like I don't always reflect the light of God. Like you were saying, like, yeah, I do, like in work, like I do this, but it literally is selfish. It's because I want people to like see something or feel something, and I want to feel that feeling of them feeling something. It's not like, it isn't purely because I want to reflect God. That might be a byproduct where people are like, oh, he's different. But that's why I'm saying, like.
So why are you chasing that feeling, you think?
I couldn't tell you. I know that I've tried it, and now I'm drunk on it. That's really where it's at. But like,
well said.
when it comes to like God, I'm like I have a tough time talking about it, because I'm like, I feel like I haven't historically always reflected God, and even to this day, there are probably people in my life that are like, yeah, okay, but it's a journey, and I think forward growth is better than nothing. And
forward progress. Yeah.
You're like, we're all on our own journey, and we all make mistakes and have hiccups. And
to be honest, Jose, like I was the church guy, like not that I was like the perfect church kid. I wasn't. I just wanted people to feel that spiritual elation that comes from the joy of the Lord, which was super, super real. And people definitely experience that, not just through me or through when I would do a Bible study or encounter, but I wanted to do those things. And I think more of it's more just like some probably chemical imbalances and just like, like mental stuff with me. But I definitely feel where that just, that though you talked about honesty, right? Where honesty is the best policy when I think it comes spiritually. But then, when I've had a couple bad years over, and it was just like things where like there was like 5, 6, 7 bad things that happened in my life that, and some like were like really tough that like was hard to recover. But I like Christianity for me is like I look at it differently now, which I'm like, where this is like the, where I don't have currently I don't have a balanced perspective. I'm trying to get back to a balanced perspective, but I'm like, if you're not not honest about everything, then you're not a real Christian. I'm like, that's not a good view to have. There has to be balance.
What do you mean by that?
So I think a lot of when I would like hopefully this won't become a whole rabbit trail one. I think it's like the whole the fact of like Christian kindness, like so I've had a lot of Christians that I know, when I went through an actual hard time, they were nice to me, but they weren't like loving to me. And I opened up to several people where it just became like, I think it was a combination of things, but maybe just they didn't have the emotional, or when people say like, I'm praying for you and let me know, and then you come to them with like, say, which I've talked about before. So, I feel comfortable mentioning. So like something like suicidal thoughts, which I had before. And then someone would go, "Oh, I'm praying for you. Like, here, go talk to this counselor." I'm like, I needed to talk to you, like someone across from me or someone who is with me in the certain things. And I think when it comes to mental health, I don't think a lot of us talk, like Christianity doesn't address mental health well. I don't think it addresses like, women in the faith well. I don't think sometimes it addresses like even scandals that happen in church, like say ones that like I've lived through and whatever. It's like honesty is the best policy. Like we're humans, and everyone probably knows like, maybe a pastor or maybe a church leader or someone else that hasn't had that's had like a fall or whatever, but then covering it up. I see a lot of the covering up, like we got to keep our Christian image. I'm like, no, dude, your Christian image is Christ. So you'll never live up to that. And because you can't live up to it, man, like that's why like it talks about in the New Testament about living a life of repentance and whatever. Not that you're just like always beating yourself up and be like, I'll never be good enough. I'll never be like this. Sorry, that was kind of a whole little sidebar, but that's something where but then there's times where I've been hurt by the church. So when you take that part and then you add into the mix, you're like, oh, that's why Ben thinks all these 3 or 4 things. But at the same time, I can also admit that God is healing me. But in order to heal, I have to be honest with myself. Like I thought when I would be like leading worship and doing all this stuff, like the reason I probably, the whole thing when I like having depression or whatever is like, just like kind of a chemical imbalance. It runs in my family. Like my dad off and on has struggled with depression. So it's not like a weird thing. And I thought it was something I thought originally, bro, that like I couldn't be a Christian and be depressed at the same time. It's like you have God, like you shouldn't be sad. Like God saved your soul from death. Like you have new life in Christ. Like you have a church body around you. Like you shouldn't be sad. Like that reality of Jesus should just completely change your life, and you should never like go through. You shouldn't like be downcast and downtrodden.
Yeah.
So it's heavy stuff, right? But then look at the Psalms.
Yeah.
Look at what David talks about in the Psalms. Like, why am I downcast, O my soul? Like, going through all these different things. Like, David was, was literally called the man after God's own heart, and he was someone that went. And the whole Bathsheba thing, where he goes like has an affair, kills the husband, and that guy's still called a man after God's own heart.
Yeah. Well, I'll also pose a question to you.
Sorry for airing all my dirty laundry.
No. If that's like,
I've talked about it all before.
Just to be like, at least a voice of encouragement. Like, do you think Job was happy the entire time through that trial? Like, it's not realistic. Like, everything ebbs and flows, So being happy all the time, so to speak, isn't exactly realistic, even in a Christian walk. Like, I don't believe that.
Spot on, man.
Yeah.
I know I said a lot there, so if there's anything else, I didn't want to. Maybe you have a different perspective too, but that's kind of things where in the past where I've just. Yeah, like it's not bad. It's not bad to wrestle with God about things. Like it says, work out your faith with fear and trembling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah. On the subject of faith, one thing I wanted to touch on a little bit is, so you grew up Seventh-day Adventist. So, are your parents so you're actually a pastor's kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You're a pastor's kid that turned out okay, huh?
That's not okay is a stretch, but yeah.
Come on, you're dropping bars and everything, man. So what was that like?
Growing up as a pastor's kid?
Or Seventh-day Adventism, like that's a very interesting segment of faith.
I think we're gonna keep our Seventh-day Adventist segment short. But no,
you think it's a cult?
Adjacent.
Adjacent. Okay, that's a neutral answer.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you have to trash it. I was just is it
I
different?
Won't trash it. It's very different from like your run-of-the-mill Christian walk and Christian faith, and I think it's really important to have a relationship with God and not a relationship with a church. And I think that's kind of
say that again. Say it into your camera.
I think that's kind of the piece that gets lost in the sauce there a little bit. But growing up Seventh-day Adventist, like honestly, dude, I was like when we left that church, I think I was 6 years old. Like, I had kid memories with it.
That was it, huh?
Honestly, nothing bad.
Like, I thought you were there for a little bit longer than 6.
So I was 6 with the denomination, and then my parents broke off, and they started their own church that also worships on the seventh day. I'm not a theologian. Like, I want a relationship with God. I don't want a relationship with the church, and I don't agree with exactly everything. So it's like, I like being able to have openness in that and not just take someone's word as gospel. Yeah.
And so for people who don't know what like other things about like Seventh-day Adventism, so once again, their Sabbath is Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
They have what was that word called? Investigative judgment. So I think that has to do with like, I don't know if they fully believe, and I think the thought is that they don't believe that hell is meant for like torture forever. Like if you're an unbeliever, you just kind of die and that's it.
So they don't believe in an eternal hell.
Yeah.
They believe in the 1,000-year hell, and then God, when he comes to make the earth new, will destroy all people. So it's like an abridged hell almost.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I'm going to go ahead and say that that's not something I'm planning on worrying about.
Yeah.
So that's
fair.
It sounds like whoever's right about that, that's something that I don't think is the be-all end-all of why you should die on a hill. Like I don't think that should be a sticking point.
Well, we talked about like popular things in culture, like going to the grind and whatever. I feel like debate culture is like a huge thing now too. Like you want to debate Israel, Palestine, like the Ukraine stuff, women's rights, like and here and there, like everyone goes and sees like a Charlie Kirk video, or they see like other different people on the left, like David Pakman and other stuff, and it's. I feel like to a certain degree, you're kind of. I really identify with what you were saying right there, man. Because at what point, like debating, like, hey, let's sit down and let's debate, like, and let's see who, excuse me, has the better faith. Like, I have a lot of friends now that are Catholics that a lot of them want to like be like, all right, let's start meeting up and let's go down the line and see, like, let's see, you can come up with better arguments. And I hope to have like more. I've had Catholics on here. I plan to keep having them, and not Catholics in general, but the whole thing of like, God didn't really call for you to debate, because like once again we mentioned balance earlier. It's like, where is the balance of like, obviously like know the basics of your faith and continue to grow in reading the Bible and living it out and continuing those actions, but also when it comes to like God is going to do the work on you. Like, I will plant seeds, and I would like to be better and be able to present my faith more. Like I said, a couple of people like super close to me have kind of really walked away from the faith, and a couple are outspoken against it, and I'm like, dude, we can have the conversation, but I don't want to. I know it sounds like a dismissal of being like, oh, I don't have to convert you, Jose, or whatever. I'm like, my goal was never to convert you, was to go and make disciples. And that word disciple, I know it sounds like so old school and whatever, but a disciple is someone that not just like comes to your church and like, oh, we had 75 baptisms this week and whatever. Like the discipleship is about like the long haul.
Yeah, so the debate thing, I think there's immense value in having a conversation and understanding another person's point of view. I think if you show up to debate, it does nothing. Nobody gets anywhere. And I think it's one of the most idiotic things in all of religion. Like the fact that if Adam had a belly button or not is an actual theological debate is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I really think, like, at the end of the day, for most, if not every single one of those debates, outside of, do you believe that Christ Jesus died for your sins?
Yeah.
And do you live your life in a way that reflects Christ? Those are really the only two arguments worth having.
Yeah.
The rest of it is, you're not going to super heaven if you're right about if Adam had a belly button.
Yeah,
like, what are we talking about?
God does not care about your denomination, and I understand there are denominations which have some like problematic theology, but this is where I would push back, where I would say, like, I know that I have the Holy Spirit. I've experienced the Holy Spirit. I've seen the gospel. Like, it's a legit thing, and if people ever want to have a debate about God, I'm like, I told maybe here and there, but with underneath this debate stuff is like, F you, I'm better than you. That's the way that I interpret it. Even people that say stuff that I totally agree with.
Even like, if you think about, I think most debate culture, like you're saying, like, think about every political debate that's happened between peers in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
It's all idiocy. It literally is. I won't even talk politics with people anymore, because like, if you wanted to discuss it, that would be one thing, but everybody just wants to argue it.
I do like actually discussing it, and I
hate it.
I feel my politics changing a lot, like where I would feel like I'm getting pushed more to the middle, but then but yeah, unfortunately, I have friends and family members who don't believe the same things. Like, if it's not I just can't. You gotta have it both ways, man. Like, that's what America is, dude. Like, if you don't agree with something, then you go and you hash it out and you figure it out. But like, I just, like, one thing that I'm trying to really regain back into my life, and obviously I guess in a spiritual way as well, is like, I feel like low key every once in a while, like I feel like the whole, like, everyone's offended by everything, I honestly feel like that's rubbing off on me over time, because like, I do watch a lot. I follow a lot of politics now, and I watch a lot of debate videos, like here and there, just like for interest, because I'm like, I would like to learn but even when, I would like to learn more about, once again, faith, and like, but to be honest, in a certain degree, if someone's like, all right, Ben, like, we'll have an atheist and you guys will come and debate, I'm like, I probably wouldn't do the best, but I'm also like, I wouldn't. Like, it's just, it's balance, man, because it's like, I really do, when I say the love of God, I'm not just saying like the kind works and the the loving nature of Jesus. I'm saying like the righteousness, like the like, what's that verse of Micah where it's like, seek justice, love mercy, walk humbly with God, right? And I don't think it's just balance, man. But the Bible also says in Thessalonians to like make sure you live like a humble and quiet life. Like, don't be like, the LGBT community, like all this stuff. It's like, dude, like, it's just amazing. I know people that are outspoken. We don't have to go to the hot button topics, but people will be like raging about this. And it's like, dude, like you're addicted to porn. Like, figure that out first, you know?
Yeah. And like,
or you're bad with your money. Like,
even like the Charlie Kirk stuff. Like, I think about that.
There's
like,
stuff where I really like what he says too, but I'm like,
I really hate all of it. I hate his side of things. I hate the other side of things. I hate every single person on every single one of those videos because the only thing they want, the only thing they're looking for, they're not looking for common ground. They're not looking for a resolution.
The 30-second clip of who owned who, right?
They're looking for a 30-second clip of someone else looking stupid.
Yeah.
That's all they're looking for. And I'm like, that's such an idiotic part of our culture. I hate it so much. That's why, like, you're like, oh, yeah, if an atheist came on and they're like, we're going to debate. My answer is no for 185,000 years.
Yeah.
I'm never doing that. Like, we're not going to get into this pissing contest of who's better than who. That's stupid. Like, I don't agree with any of that at all, actually, but that's just me. So.
No, but you're not really wrong either. But yeah, but then if some people weren't putting out their ideas, like I could definitely see like one. Yeah, but I don't know. There's just it's bad with both.
I think it's important to be educated. I think it's unimportant.
Yeah, I didn't go to college, so what am I talking about?
No. Educated on hot button topics. I think it's important to know what's going on, but I also think it's important to be respectful and to actually have your own independent thought and not just regurgitate a group thought.
Even mom and dad were saying, they're like, yeah, you like 10, 20 years ago, like we wouldn't go up to our neighbors and be like, hey, so who did you vote for? Like that wasn't a thing. That was super private.
Yeah.
And now it's like, if you voted this way, like I don't want to, like go. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the stupidest
jump
thing
off
in the world.
a bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope that like I could be part of like the normal. Or like, dude, you want to talk about like crazy stuff happening? Like I know we just referenced like people like debating and like whatever, no Jubilee videos or whatever. Did you see Jordan Peterson just went on?
No.
So it was like the original name of this title, this video was called One Atheist versus like 25 Atheists. And they had to end up changing it because like Jordan Peterson, Daily Wire guy, like he's basically like he's kind of like the face of conservatism now. Like he was the guy that like he was a professor in Toronto. Like everyone's heard of him and whatever, and probably listened to like his TED Talks or I don't know, or his speeches, whatever he does. Like his book was like the 12 Things of Life or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so he goes and sits down with like the intro of this Jubilee video is like he's talking to someone and this person's just trying to go at him, like this like 20-year-old kid who probably like isn't dumb, he's probably educated and stuff. But then I'm like, that's like the kid got his 30-second clip where he goes and tells Jordan Peterson, "You're nothing" or whatever, and Jordan Peterson during this clip goes, "I never said I was a Christian. I'm just defending their beliefs." Because he talks and makes a lot of metaphors to Christianity and parallels all the time. And so they changed Jubilee changed the video from Jordan Peterson versus 25 atheists to one Christian versus atheist. So it's like, wow, who would have thought that?
Well, I think like with Jordan Peterson specifically, like that's one of those things. Like I
used to really like him.
I try to listen to everybody. Because I like hearing what people have to say, and I think Jordan Peterson's more of a scholar.
Yeah.
I don't think he's necessarily of the Christian walk, but I think he...
No, I think he probably thinks it's admirable, but he's probably an agnostic guy.
Yeah, I think agnostic's probably a very good term for what he is, But I think he's a very good scholar.
Yeah. I just think there's times where, like, when you're, like, you're in Christ, like you are a Christian regardless of like whatever happens to you, like me and you. And there's just like, well, dude, I'm pretty convinced of my faith. Like I'm opening to hearing other things, but there's a point where when debate becomes kind of like, I don't want to say meaningless because then that kind of just shuts the door on people. But I'm like, dude, there is, regardless, I think there's benefits to the way that like true Christianity is is not self-serving. It's all the fruits of the Spirit: kindness, patience, gentleness, serving. Like that's what like Jesus came as a servant, right? That was his biggest thing. Like Jesus, I know that's now like uses. It's almost like kind of like cool now to be like Christianity is cool now because like Trump's president now, so everyone's coming back to. And then 4 years it'll just be like 666 all over the place. But I just think it's weird how things just flop. But like I hate it, man. Like to a certain degree, like I want to be like informed, so a lot of like I listen to both sides of the political aisle, even though I have my leanings and my biases, but to some degree I do start to get like anxiety sometimes where I'm like, oh, did I say this wrong or that wrong? And like at family gatherings or with some of my friends, I'm like, dude, like even it's tough when like people you love are like, you're X, Y, and Z, like you're bigot, you hate people. It's like I've never done that, but it makes you just paranoid. Plus, you got like depression and the world's doing whatever.
I think the more focus that you have on the world, the worse your mindset gets. I think it's just like oh, what's happening in Gaza? Oh, what's going on with this person? Oh, this celebrity is doing this. Maybe I should do this too. Oh, all of my friends are doing this. Like, I'm not enough. Like, it's just like, be good.
Dude,
love God.
Should we talk about the Kanye stuff?
No.
Why?
No.
Dude, I love how you can't even like listen. Well, it makes sense why you can't listen to the song. For anyone who doesn't know, Kanye literally has a song that I don't even know what it's called, but it's literally Heil Hitler and then the N-word.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow. But then also, didn't he have? Is it that song or is it like a new album where he admits that like he did something with his cousin? That guy is off his meds, bro.
This is honest to God truth. I know next to nothing about Kanye. I have no idea what any of his lyrics are. I'm like, he seems like a problem, and I don't want problems. I don't know anything about him. I really don't.
99 problems, but Kanye is one.
Post 2016, I have not listened to any Kanye, so I have no idea what's going on there.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
but that stuff is wild.
Yeah.
But so you weren't? I thought you listened to a lot of rap. No.
I listen to.
What do you listen to?
I listen to everything. Like I know everybody says they listen to everything, but like lately I've been on a blues kick. Before that I was on a country kick.
When was your metal kick? I wanted to know about that.
No, I listen to like some punk rock, some
MGK,
like some normal rock. Like I don't know. It's just I enjoy music, and like I wish I could play it. I don't. I just
because your sisters or Lindsay.
Yeah,
is like an artist, right?
Yeah, Lindsay's an artist. My dad plays a lot of instruments. Like it's just, I'm very envious of people who are good with music, simply put. But I don't know. I appreciate music that sounds good. Like I think the blues is one of the most awesome genres of music. I think it's very well written, especially like the older style where it's literally just like a guitar.
Like B.B. King?
B.B. King, I don't listen to a lot of B.B. King. I can appreciate talent, but I think that's really what it was. I appreciate talent. Like if it's something that I'm like, I don't love this, but I know that this person's really, really good.
It's interesting because if I watch live music in a bar, like I'm very entranced by it.
Yeah.
Where I'll just be like, wow, look at that chord, because sometimes it's like I never loved rap, but then also like I never knew where to start. But then also it sounds terrible with some of this Kanye stuff. I'm like I never really like fully went through like Graduation or some of the other albums that like the famous ones.
I more enjoy the music of things. Like there are albums of hip hop like I think J. Cole's For Your Eyes Only, which I don't know if you've listened to that whole thing all the way through.
Oh, probably not. No, a lot of my friends. Yeah.
Phenomenal. Like if you listen to it song after song after
How
song.
is he not in like the top people? Is he considered one of the top rappers right now? Because like there's the whole Drake and Kendrick thing, which I didn't even really. No, I just know that like Drake got roasted that he was like implied that he was messing with like young girls.
I would consider J. Cole to be in one of the top artists, hip hop artists of all time. But that's a personal opinion. Whether
Well, I'm
other
saying
people
why
would share
wouldn't he be
that.
up there? Because I would say a lot of my friends would. Isn't it the combination of the actual music and he has like incredible lyric writing,
Well, I think
and he's been incredible over a long period of time.
I think the reason that he's so good is because he has palatable emotion that he can communicate. Like Kendrick, there's literally a podcast mostly dedicated to dissecting Kendrick's lyrics.
Yeah.
Because they're very involved, and like that's where I'm like I can respect talent, but when it comes to like J. Cole, like that whole For Your Eyes Only is a whole story about it's a story.
That's a concept album, right?
It's a letter written to a daughter of one of his friends that died. The whole thing,
I didn't
and
know
you don't understand. So it starts with his funeral. It goes
One more time, what's it called?
For Your Eyes Only. And the last song is 8 minutes long, and it goes through the entire. So none of the album makes sense until you get to the last song, and then it all makes sense. It's phenomenal. It's really, really
When
good.
did he come out with this album? A while ago, probably.
I think it was 2015.
Jeez,
It was a long time ago. Yeah,
Isn't it crazy? 2015 was
a decade ago.
I graduated in 2016. You graduated in what?
18.
18.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's 2:30, so we got to go soon. But give me your top 5 musical artists, and then we'll get out of here.
Top 5 musical
You
artists.
can. I know it's. You just said you're all over the place, but
I am all over the place. Oh, jeez.
you can do one from each genre or whatever.
One from each genre. Okay. I'll say for hip hop, I think I'd give it to J. Cole. I think J. Cole's really good. For country, I'm a little bit basic with country.
Say it.
No, actually, okay.
Say it.
I really like Morgan Wallen.
Yeah.
I listen to mostly Morgan Wallen, but I think as far as talent,
Last night we let the liquor talk.
I think as far as talent
I can
goes,
play that.
Tyler Childers and Zach Bryan are two of the most talented country singers in the world. I really believe that.
Is Zach Bryan? Did he? Yeah, I hate to be like, did he go through a scandal? But did he date that barstool girl? Right?
Couldn't tell
Rihanna
you.
Chicken Fry. I think he did.
That's
Yeah.
I've zero
Barstool is
knowledge.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I just know his music.
Yeah.
As far as rock goes, there's one band. Bring Me the Horizon. I think is
Holy
really,
cow! Really?
I think they're really talented.
I love Bring Me.
I think they're really, really good.
Yeah, they're just incredibly good with they're like New Linkin Park basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sensational.
New Age Blues. I think Kaleo is really, really good. I think he's really talented.
Dude, you're doing the audience a solid. You're looking you're like a Renaissance man with all this music.
No,
I can't say the same thing.
When it comes to, I'm just gonna say Hispanic genre. Peso Pluma is really, really good. He's a really good guitarist. It's actually two people. And then I really like J Balvin too. His music's just fun to dance to.
He's also Hispanic?
Yeah, I think he's Puerto Rican, but he makes Hispanic music. And then pop. Not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna give it to Tate McRae. Tate McRae's so good,
dude. Oh my gosh, what's
she's
your favorite
awesome.
song? Is it not Greedy though?
No. She has a song called "Uh-Oh" that is, and I'm going to say this liberally, the perfect song. It's so well written,
dude. There are so many. Many girls and dudes that love Tate McRae.
It's so well written. I think that's so good. But yeah, there's a lot of honorable mentions in there, but I think those are like the top genres that I've listened to actively. If there's a genre I missed, I probably still listen to it. But yeah,
that was great. But you covered like the good bases, man, and I didn't even know a couple. So
yeah,
and
then
great.
For instrumentals, I definitely will give it to Polyphia. Polyphia for like
wow, dude, that
no singing.
Geez,
like I think
wow,
that guitar playing is so awesome. I love listening to Polyphia.
Yeah, math rock is sick, dude.
Yes,
it's so hard to play, but it's sick.
Like,
damn, dude, you are freaking. That impressed me, bro. That was wow.
No, yeah.
Jeez. All right, guys. Well, that was the one and only Jose Luna. So thanks for coming on, man. And we covered a lot of awesome stuff. And thanks for opening up. I opened up about some stuff, and I love that. I always liked hearing you talk about faith, man, because when we were first we're kind of doing more, once again, when we kind of met up during the encounter days, it was awesome and so cool. So, and please, we need to find time when we go golfing. We should just get Winans because he just texted me a couple days ago.
Did he?
So that would be freaking
Dude, we'll run it back with Winans and Rob, and we'll play another match here.
That's a foursome.
I'm into it. Yeah, I'm already there. Let me know.
Cool. All right. Thanks again, man. See ya.
Yeah,
Peace.
absolutely.
Bye, people.